Hi guys, welcome, and who dat? I'm Joe, and today I'm bringing you part two of my two-part series on the New Orleans Saints and the upcoming NFL Draft for 2023. Our first video, we broke down the Saints roster and we talked about the positions of need for the team. And in this video, we're going to talk about those players in the draft. So, we're going to get up the draft picks right here. This is what the Saints currently have to work with. We have 8 picks overall. First rounder, second rounder, third rounder, fourth rounder, 2 fifth rounders, 2 seventh rounders. The Saints typically like to move up in the draft. The last time we actually moved back in the draft was, I think, 2007. Something crazy like that. So, what we're going to do is I've compiled a list of about almost 200 players, right under 200 players. And we're going to look at the different positions, and we're going to look at the top-ranked players in each position. We're going to talk a little bit about it. We're going to talk about the depth of it. In the last video, we talked about the specific depth among the positions in the draft. And in this video, we're going to actually take a look at those players, a few of them. And then at the end of the video, we are going to do a simulation mock draft. I've already done the mock. I've already run the simulation. I'm going to bring up the players that are available when the Saints pick, and you guys watching this video can choose for yourself who the Saints should sign, and we'll do that, a deep examination until we get to about, the second pick, and then after that, there'll be some choices for you to make. I could give you multiple 7 round, 8 selection drafts that I've done as far as simulations go, but I wanted you guys to get involved in the process as well, just to put yourself on the spot and see what you would actually do. So that's what we've got lined up. That's our draft picks. Down here, we're going to put our positions of need. The only one missing here is safety. If you want to put safety down there, we've got a lot of bodies at safety. We don't really need a quarterback. I explained in the first video how these needs are preferential as far as how you want to rank them. And now we're going to take a look at those draft picks coming up. Among the almost 200 players I'm going to show you, yes, the Saints are going to select most of them. Most of who the Saints select, pardon me, are going to be on this list. So let's look at them. Let's pull up the quarterbacks first. All right. They're not in any particular order. They're roughly in order. It depends on where you go as to how these players are ranked. So most people go to Pro Football Focus, and they've taken into consideration the combine. They tend to re-up and change their players' positionings. A week ago, some of these players were in different positions. If you go to a different site, they'll be in different positions. This is pretty much a combination of all of it. Doesn't mean that this is exactly the way it is. If you're a guy that's in love with Anthony Richardson, he's number one on your list. It's just a kind of a rough sketch. So you got C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. Those are the consensus top 4. You can throw Hendon Hooker in there. I've seen all of those quarterbacks go in the first round. Anything after that is a crapshoot, really. I think starting with Hendon Hooker and Tanner McKee, anything there and beyond, below, is a crapshoot. I don't think the Saints should be messing with a quarterback in this draft. We don't have a draft pick high enough to really get one of those top 4. The only way the Saints can move up in this year's draft, we can compile a bunch of draft picks together and move up as high as we want. And the Saints can do that. They can package their first with a second and a third and next year's first and a couple of picks in the upcoming drafts, to try to move up as high as possible and get that player they love. I think there's a lot of depth in this draft. I don't think you should be moving up. But I looked at the point values for the different draft pick positions. If the Saints take their first round pick, number 29 overall, and they throw in their third round pick, 71 overall, they package those two picks together, they can move up to number 19. Now that's how the point levels come out. Our first rounder and third rounder combined can move us up to number 19. So let's say a player falls below 19. Once they hit that point, we can move up, and we can do it by just putting together one pick. If we want to combine our first rounder with one other pick and move up and get the player we love, I guess I'm okay with that. It drives me crazy that the Saints do this constantly. And sometimes they get good players, and sometimes the players they get don't work out. And then you end up spending 2 draft picks to get a guy like Zach Bond, or 2 draft picks to get a guy like Marcus Davenport. And sometimes you combine a couple of picks together and you get Chris Olave. So that's how the draft works. That's how this particular draft works. Our number 1 and our number 3 combined can get us up to 19. We're not going after a quarterback, though. I think quarterback, if we pick one, it's going to be late in the draft. It'll be a guy we put on the practice squad, and it'll be somebody who we plan on developing. Maybe they become our backup after Jameis finishes his first year. Maybe they're good enough to take the backup spot from Jameis. But I doubt if we're going to draft a quarterback that's going to take Carr's place. We don't want a $35 million backup. If we wait and draft later on, pardon me, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys. So where was I at? Quarterbacks. So, yeah, let's take a look at a couple of them. Some people at work that I work with, they say C.J. Stroud is the guy. Okay. Bryce Young is the guy that's got, the completion percentage, great accuracy. He's got the arm strength, but he's 5'11", maybe even shorter than that. Is C.J. Stroud going to be the next Baker Mayfield or Mitchell Trubisky? I don't know. Is he going to be the next Ken O'Brien? I don't know. Bryce Young, is he going to be the next Russell in Denver, or is he Kyler Murray? I don't know. Well, only time will tell. If the Saints are in love with one of these guys, or Anthony Richardson. Everybody was worried about the injuries coming back from, and then everyone fell in love with him in the interviews, and perhaps he's shown he's back from his injury. And I've seen Richardson go as high as number 1 overall. I've seen Stroud go number 1 overall. I've seen Young go number 1 overall. I've even seen Will Levis go number 1 overall. I've also seen Will Levis fall to us. Is Will Levis the guy we're in love with? Are we going to try to move up to grab him if he falls past 19? Then you got Hendon Hooker. A lot of people pegged the Saints to grab him in the 3rd round. He may go as high as the 1st round now. Tanner McKee, he looked good in the combine too. His accuracy was good. He doesn't have the zip that these top 3 guys have. And he's safe with the ball. You can see that on the tape too, which, we want you to be conservative and we want you to be accurate, but we want you to be able to go for the kill too. So there's your quarterbacks. We're going to move on because that's not an item of important need. Like I said in the last video, we have 2 former Pro Bowl quarterbacks on our team who might be getting up in age, but I don't think we need to address quarterback. And if we do early, we're going to have to be in love with one of these guys. Okay, let's Pull up the running backs. All right. This is, in my opinion, the deepest position group in the draft, running back and tight end. We're going to look at these running backs. Bijan Robinson. He's the top rated guy. I've seen him go as high as top 5, top 10. I've seen him fall all the way to the Saints. Most of the time, people feel like they can get running backs in the mid rounds in the drafts, and we've seen it a lot lately where almost no running back will go in the first round. So, as deep as this class is, and I think anywhere from Robinson to Spears, McIntosh, even Eric Gray with Oklahoma. I mean, all of these guys have supreme ability. So you can go from Robinson all the way down to Eric Gray, Deuce Vaughn. I mean, I think all of these guys can make an NFL roster. So do you take a running back in the first couple of picks over here? I don't think so. Um, if you're in love, let's say with Gibbs from Alabama or Charbonnet out of UCLA. Let's say you're in love with Charbonnet and he falls into the second round. Like I say, most of these running backs are probably going to start going in the second round. I just don't want unless the Saints trade back and pick up additional picks. I don't want to be spending a really high pick on a running back. All of these guys have their pluses, and I would be fine with the Saints taking Gibbs or Charbonnet or a Chain or even Bigsby or Evans, Miller, even Chris Rodriguez with Kentucky. I've seen him going in the sixth round, not even getting drafted. This kid was good. Uh, you got Johnson from the big school like Texas, who had to play behind Robinson. So a deep class at running back. I think running back is something we need to address, but if the right one falls to us in the third round, let's say a Chain from Texas A&M still there, and we're in love with that guy, we get him in the third round, yeah. But really, seriously, wait till the fourth round or fifth round and get one of these guys. They're ultimately going to be your number 3 running back. You hope you get the replacement for Kamara eventually, but that's where I lean. Uh, Focus on the top picks with something else. We're too deep at running back in this draft to go too early. I think you can get a good one in the fourth round or fifth round. Let's bring up wide receivers, and I got a bunch of them listed here because it is an area of need for the Saints. Um, the problem with the top of this depth chart here for the draft, not a lot of size. Right now, the Pro Football Focus has Quentin Johnston as the number 1 receiver. He's got size. He's 6'2" or 6'3", and he ran a 4.3 something 40. Okay, he's the freak. He's the guy that's not only big, but really fast. You want a speed guy? Go get Johnston. You want a big guy? Go get Johnston. Yeah, that's why Pro Football Focus has him number 1. Of course, Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. Any receiver from Ohio State should be considered the number 1 guy. He's the same size as Olave, 6 foot. His top end 40 speed is okay. I think it was a 4.4 or 5 or 4.47. That's not where he does his damage. His shuttle and cone were off the charts, like top 3 in the combine, and this is how he gets open. So I figure he's a good route running possession guy, much like Chris Olave. So he's gonna go early. I don't think he's gonna last. So I believe Quentin Johnston and Njigba will be gone. Jalen Hyatt has good size, and he's been forecast to go in the first round. And then there's some question about Jordan Addison. Addison is he's 5'10", between 5'10" and 6 foot, and He's got decent tape, but his combine numbers were just okay. People think he's not fast enough, and then I think he ran a 4.47 or something. So, Addison's one of those guys. He's a first round talent, but he may slip. Do the Saints take Addison if he falls to us? Zay Flowers is another guy. He combined better than Addison. Flowers is another 5'10" guy, so another possession guy. Josh Downs has a little bit of size. Cedric Tillman, I think, is 6 foot, decent size. I think Marvin Mims is okay at size. Uh, Kayshon Boutte out of LSU. Usually, if you can get a cornerback or a wide receiver or a running back from LSU, you should do it. They all turn out to be pretty good. Um, if there's a big run on wide receivers, then you're not likely to have a really good one fall to you in the third round. I don't know what you consider a good one. I think if you can get Mims or Boutte or Perry right around the third round, you're doing pretty good. Uh, you've got some specialists down the way. Nathaniel Dell, Tank Dell, 5'8". Okay, I'm not going to assume why they call him Tank. He's 5'8". He's a specialist probably, and uncoverable during the Senior Bowl. So I've seen Pro Football Focus have him ranked in the top 25. I've seen him get selected according to Pro Football Focus in the first or second round. Man, if you're spending a second round pick on a 5'8" wide receiver who's, in my opinion, this far down this chart, then you think he's a special player. I like Nathaniel Dell. I like Nathaniel Dell with a fourth round pick. I don't want to be drafting him early. I don't know if the Saints are going to focus on size or not. Bryce Ford Wheaton's a big guy. Uh, you know, it's hard to tell. You get a receiver in the third round, you hope it's not Traquan Smith. So that's where I'm at on wide receiver. If one of those top 6 guys, 7 guys, are there in the second round and we take them, not bad. Okay, Michael Thomas was a second round pick. So I feel like if you do grab one of those guys in the second round, he better start. He better come in, better than Rashid Shaheed, bigger, ready to go. Let Rashid Shaheed be a specialist on our team. If we draft a receiver, one of these receivers in the second round, that guy better take Rashid's spot, as a primary receiver on the field quite a bit. That's where I'm at on receivers. Let's go to tight ends. Here's the other draft class that is stunning. I'm looking at your top 3: Kincaid, Mayer, Washington. All of them have the abilities to be a starter in this league and to be a special player in this league. No doubt Kincaid and Mayer. And Mayer's my favorite of the bunch. 6'4", 250, 255, perfect NFL size for a tight end. Gets open, can block. That's the guy. That's the guy we want Troutman to be. But I think Kincaid or Mayer or Washington come in here and compete for the starting job if they come in here. Darnell Washington. Uh, he was the backup tight end at Georgia. Georgia has a tight end who was their number one and who's still in college. He's going to play one more year. So Washington doesn't have all of the playing time to look at the tape and say, hey, this is the guy, He's 6'7". I mean, he's a monster. He above and beyond when it comes to his abilities projected into the NFL. Just not a lot of tape because he was the number 2 tight end at a really good school at Georgia. So behind a really, really good tight end. So Darnell Washington's one of those guys where, if he had time to play and showcase, he may be at the top of this list. As it is now, he may fall to the second round. He may fall to the third round. It depends on how badly a team wants tight end. And I think there are a lot of teams at the end of the first round who made the postseason, who have a complete roster, who may need a tight end. Example, the Dallas Cowboys. They feel like they have a great roster. If Kincaid or Mayer's there with their first round pick, or Washington, they may go for it. Same thing with the Raiders. I think Waller's a free agent. I don't know. I don't think they re-signed Waller, and I know that Moreau's gone. So maybe the Raiders take a tight end in the first round. Luke Musgrave gets a first round grade from a lot of sites. And then Sam Laporta's rising up the drafts. Tucker Kraft is a good guy. The two out of Alabama is a talented player in a big program. Zach Kuntz, 6'7", out of Old Dominion. Small school, but like Washington, the guy's so big, you just know you can throw him out there and hopefully something can happen. Luke Schoonmaker out of Michigan, he's another complete tight end that I really like. That's a guy I wouldn't mind drafting in the mid rounds. Will Mallory with Miami. So there you go. Those are 10 tight ends who I think you can draft in this class who will stick to a roster. And I think most of these guys would give Adam Troutman a run for his money. You like Taysom Hill? He's a slash player. I don't want him starting at tight end. He can in a pinch. He can be your second tight end, third tight end. That's where I'm at with Taysom. I think this is Troutman's last year. I haven't seen enough. If Troutman blows up, great. Then we have a second tight end. But I expect Adam Troutman to be so-so again this year, his contract year, and then we can move on from him. So tight end is kind of important for me. This class is so deep, you can get a good one. You can get a good one in the fourth round, someone that'll compete with Troutman. And that's where I'm at on tight end. Let's pull up the offensive tackles. This is an interesting position. Offensive tackle is one of those premier positions in the draft. And we have a bunch of players here that are first round rated. However, and I'll tell you the ones rated to go in the first round, early second round: Paris Johnson, Skoronski, Jones, Broderick Jones, Darnell Wright, DeJuan Jones, Anton Harrison. Those guys all have first round grades depending on where you go. The problem is the highest rated one, Paris Johnson Jr., he's typically rated like 16th, 17th overall. Pro Football Focus, I think, has Paris Johnson, after the top 15. So you have a log jam at tackle, but most of them are low first, early second pick. Okay. If you need an offensive tackle, you're going to draft an offensive tackle. You're going to draft the best one in the draft, and you're going to draft them early. So I expect Paris Johnson Jr. and Peter Skoronski to be gone pretty early, probably top 15. Broderick Jones, DeJuan Jones, Darnell Wright. If you need a tackle, you want to hurry up and grab those guys, or Anton Harrison, before the pickings become slim. So that's where we're at tackle. If you need a tackle, there's 6 really good ones there, but there are so many other players who overall are ranked better that you have to need a tackle. The Saints don't need a tackle. But like I say, because these guys are rated lower in the first round, you're either going to have a run on offensive tackles, which is going to leave some really good overall players dropping to you, or one of these guys falls to you, and even though it's not an exceptionally strong, deep class, these are the top guys, and if you want a top guy and one of them's there, you may want to do it. And that's what I was talking about in the last video. If Darnell Wright or DeJuan Jones is in the second round, or Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma, one of those guys is in the second round, and the Saints pull the trigger, I'm not going to be upset with it. When you pick late in the first round, sometimes your priorities are different. Usually you're a postseason team. You have a complete roster. You can grab the best available player. This is why the Pittsburgh Steelers were good for 15, 20 years. They always finish with a winning record. So they always feel like they have a complete team. So they choose at the bottom of the first round and they grab the best available player. Those players are usually in the first round, bottom of the first round, the best available players are usually guards or centers or tight ends or linebackers. Pittsburgh always had a good offensive line. Pittsburgh always had great linebackers, and that's why you picked the best available player. So, offensive tackle, this may be a year when a position of very great importance, has a class of good players who just aren't at the top of the round. They're projected to go at the bottom of the round. They're still the top of their class. And if the Saints want to wait, you want to just get some competition later on for Young, Landon Young, or the guy from the Chargers. You want to try to find that fourth offensive tackle. You can wait. I think Blake Freeland's good. Warren McClendon's good. Matthew Bajoran's rising up the charts. Wanya Morris out of Oklahoma. I think that's a guy, if you can get him in a later round, is a good project for you. Jason Kirkland out of Washington would be a pretty good fourth rounder, fifth rounder. All right, so offensive tackle. That's how I look at that one. Lot of first round projected guys, just kind of low on the overall rankings, meaning the cream of the crop in this position group is either going to be reached for in the first round or it's going to be just sitting there waiting for you to pick when we pick in the late first and then early second round. All right, let's pull up the guards, the interior offensive linemen. I'm throwing the centers in here as well. One of my favorite players, Osiris Torrance. His combine was awful. Awful. 330 pounds. You don't expect him to blow you away. But even at 330 pounds, he should have done a little better with his shuttle. He should have done a little better with his long jump. I think his broad jump was like 9 feet, less than 9 feet. His vertical was like a 32 or something like that. I mean, just not very good because he's a 330-pound bowling ball mauler of a guy. Boulders don't jump up and down. Okay, boulders get in your way. So that's what I like about Torrance. He's a man. You think of Trevor Penning and how he can just road block everybody, and I just picture Penning and Torrance on the left side. Yeah, we're going to run to the left side. Try to stop us. You've got a 6'7" behemoth in Penning next to Torrance, who's this 330-pound guy. So right now, Torrance is kind of rated in the 30s, maybe around pick 40 overall on the overall rankings. But God, we need an interior offensive lineman. I don't want to live with Andres Pete. I want this to be his last year, so I want his replacement. And I love Torrance. Steve Avila from TCU. He is maybe the most athletic guy. His combine was great. And he was projected to go in the late second round. He's probably going to be a low first, second rounder now with his combine. You also got to throw in Cody Mauch from North Dakota State. Some people have him ranked as a tackle. He's rated as a guard here, and I've even seen him mocked to the Saints in the second round because Torrance was gone, Avila was gone. John Michael Schmidt, the best center in the group. He's a sound player, a good technician, a lot of upside with him. Luke Whippler out of Ohio State at guard tested really good, too, at the combine. He along with Avila, seem to be the athletes of the bunch. Andrew Voorhees is moving up on some of the charts. I think on this, you get to about Joe Tipman from Wisconsin, right around there. Luke Whippler, Ricky Stromberg. So there you go. Torrance, Avila, Voorhees, Schmidt, Tipman, Whippler, Stromberg. I don't know if you want to go any further lower than those guys. I'm not sure what you're getting. I think that if you can get Torrance or Avila or Whippler or Schmitz, then you're doing pretty good. Mach as well. So that's where we're at on those guys. Those guys rank anywhere from number 40 overall to number 80 overall. So we're talking about second to third round talent, but it's the cream of the crop of this group. And I think we do need to address guard because I think Pete is on his last wing. So this will be his last year, hopefully. So I'm kind of hoping we pick an interior lineman early in the first 3 picks. I'm hoping somehow people are scared off of Torrance because of the combine and he falls to the second round. My dream is to get a defensive tackle with the first round pick and then get best available player in the second round, but in a position that we really need. And to me, that would be defensive end or guard or wide receiver, somewhere around that, something like that. What I'm going to do is later on in this video, we're going to go through a mock simulation, and I'm going to let you guys do what you would do, pick what you would pick. But even guys like Alex Forsyth and Juice Scruggs have some, have some heat. People like Scruggs, the kid from Michigan, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce. I've seen him go in the second round. I've seen him go in the 5th round. So don't know what you're going to get at guard, but I think at the first 3 to 5 at the top are pretty good. All right, there's your offensive players. Let's get to defense. We're going to look at Jalen Carter, defensive tackle. My favorite player in the draft. Who would you draft if you had the first overall pick? That's a question that not very many people are asking. If you were the Saints and right now you had the first overall pick, who would you pick? Well, everybody says you got to get a quarterback, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if there's a franchise quarterback in this group. You need a quarterback. You grab one early when you can. But I think I would be a Jalen Carter guy myself. If you can get pressure up the middle in any quarterback space, then you can disrupt the offense and you can win some football games. We don't get that pressure up the middle. There's 3 guys on this list that can do that. Jalen Carter, Brian Breesy, Kalijah Cansey. If I had my selection first overall, I would take Carter. That being said, I know Carter's going to be gone before we even have a chance to sniff it moving up like the Saints love to do. But I got my eye on Cansey. I got my eye on Cansey because, yeah, his measurables are exactly like Aaron Donald. His combine numbers exactly like Aaron Donald. And because he's 6'1", people might say, well, he's a little undersized. Yeah, give me Leroy Glover any day. As a matter of fact, Leroy Glover is the last pass rushing defensive tackle that we've had that was an exceptional player. You would hope that somebody like Carter, Breesy, or Cansey could live up to the epicness that was Leroy Glover, people. Okay, but if Cansey can play as good as Aaron Donald's jockstrap, I'll take Cansey. Okay. As a matter of fact, I've got Cansey over Breesy right now. I'm in love with Cansey. I'm a Cansey boy. If I had my choice between Cansey and Torrance, I would take Cansey. Okay. I think that's our perfect first round pick for the Saints. We need a pass rusher. We need help on the defensive line. Cansey's the man. Now, if we package our 3rd round pick with our 1st round pick, move up to number 19 and grab Cansey, I'll be happy. Or Breesy. After that, you've got Maisie Smith, Siaki Ika. Those are the nose tackles. Mozzie Smith is the strongest guy in the draft. He can break through double teams, no problem. He's going to demand double teams, which means everyone else gets singled up. So I see the value in a guy like Mozzie Smith. I see the value. Don't know if I want him my first round pick, but if he's there in the second round, I will take him. Aki is good too. Dexter out of Florida and Benton out of Wisconsin. You know, those guys are second, third rounders to me. And then after that, you know, it's a developmental guy that you would be focusing on. There's some guys that I'm excited about late in the draft. Small school guys like Clark out of Coastal Carolina, even Byron Young out of Alabama, who's supposed to fall in this draft. Carl Brooks out of Bowling Green. That's another guy that could be a good nose tackle for us. Dante Stills looks like he's a good player to me. So a lot of talent here, but rotational players, if you want someone who's going to be a dominant player, it's going to have to be Mozzie Smith or Akia for nose tackle. And then, like I say, the top three, Carter, Breezy, Cansey. I'm praying Cansey falls to us. Let's pull up the edge rushers. This is a long-ass list of defensive ends. We need an edge rusher. There's a lot of them in this draft. I say that there's good depth in this draft. The thing is, you never know what you're going to get. You want somebody who's going to affect the game and be a great pass rusher. And you've got some players here that can do that. Everybody on this list, from Miles Murphy all the way to Isaiah McGuire. So take a look at that. You got your first two, Anderson and Wilson. They project to go in the top 15 every mock I've ever done. Those two guys are gone. But the next 14 players, Miles Murphy to Isaiah McGuire, I've seen all of those guys drafted anywhere from the first round to the fourth round. So it all depends on what you want. It all depends on what you value. And yeah, do you spend a first round pick on one of these guys and you hope they can develop and be that guy? I mean, if you fall in love with somebody and you feel like that's your guy, you go and get them. But like I say, there's 14 players there who can go anywhere. I mean, I have no idea. There could be a big run on edge rusher in the first round, second round. Even if there is, 16 players aren't going to get taken in the first two rounds. I know you can get a good edge rusher in the third round. I'm positive of it. But if you're in love with somebody, you go and get them. Will Anderson Jr. would be that second pick. If I couldn't get Jalen Carter with my first overall pick, I would get Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama with the pick. Yeah, so he's not going to be around. Wilson's not going to be around. But I've seen people put Anadiki Uzoma in the first round. I've seen him do it with Adibawar. I've seen Will McDonald IV go in the first round. I've seen Andre Carter from Army. I think Pro Football Focus has him rated in the top 25 overall. So it all depends on what you want. Nolan Smith is burning things up after his combine. And, Ajalari from LSU. From what I've seen, I feel like he's a third, fourth rounder. That's how I feel. Some people have him going in the first round, second round. I mean, if he's got the tools you need. There are some freaks out there too. Once they get, some good coaching and good competition and learn the professional way, they can develop. There's so much depth there, though. And I feel like really after Anderson and Wilson, you just don't really know what you're getting. So I wouldn't want to reach too high for one of them. We have bodies. Cam Jordan and Carl Granderson were our starting defensive ends at the end of last year. They're going to be our starting defensive end this year. Our defense was performing very well at the end of the year with Carl Granderson and Cam Jordan. Now, we may be forgetting about something. Peyton Turner. Peyton Turner's been injured. He's only played 13 games his entire 2-year career with the Saints so far. Or he's been with us 2 years now, I think, maybe 3. We don't have a lot of tape on Peyton Turner. But if Peyton Turner stays healthy and he plays like a first-round pick, and we start getting some production out of him, all of a sudden you've got yourself another player. Because right now, Peyton Turner's on our roster, and nobody counts him because you can't count on him. But what if Peyton Turner turns into a good first-round pick? What if he stays healthy for a whole season? Then all of a sudden, your need at defensive end is done. You have a starter in Granderson. Now you have Turner, who's supposed to be the guy. We want him to be the guy. You still have Passanio as some depth. So, yeah, I think if you go get an edge rusher, try to create some pressure, pass rush, that's fine. I just don't want to reach for it. Maybe Peyton Turner turns a corner this year. He stays healthy. And all of a sudden, we have that defensive end we need. I still want to address it. I think third round's a good spot for that. Let's pull up the linebackers. Okay. Trenton Simpson, Drew Sanders, Jack Campbell. All right. I love Jack Campbell. Man, his combine was great. He's a middle linebacker, and that's a guy. That's a guy, man. I would love to have him. If I didn't have a middle linebacker and I needed one, my sights would be set on Jack Campbell. Drew Sanders out of Arkansas. Tape is really good. Measurables are good. This is a pro middle linebacker. That's a guy at middle linebacker I wouldn't mind having. If we didn't have one, but we have one. We have Davis. We also have Pete Werner at outside linebacker. And then we have Zach Bond. So, do we need depth? Yes, we do. Are we going to draft it early? I don't know. To me, it's not a great area of need, but as far as trying to grab a starter, Bond is technically a starter, but his position doesn't see the field often. So, the problem is I don't know where you're going with linebacker. Slim Pickens. I'm sold on those 3, and after that, I just don't know. Noah Sewell has some potential. Herbig is rising up the polls. Deion Henley has been hot and cold in his career. And I really like Ivan Pace Jr. out of Cincinnati. I think he's an excellent linebacker, too. So, if someone needs a linebacker, a couple of these players might go, but I have a feeling a linebacker is going to be there, that the best ones are going to be there at the end of the first round. And when the second round comes, if you want to take a chance on one of them, you may have to do that. Otherwise, you're going to get a project guy, someone later in the round, someone later in the 4th round, 5th round, like Miller or Williams or Dennis. Don't know if they'll turn into starters or not. So, his linebacker area of great need? I think so. I think we need the depth. I don't want Zach Bond starting half the season because Werner gets hurt again. So I would like to have one of these top guys, but in order to get him, you're going to have to get him in the 1st or 2nd round. That's a hard pill to swallow for Saints fans. An even harder pill, perhaps, to swallow for Saints fans would be drafting a cornerback. And here's the list of corners. Whew. Some really good ones here. The top 6 are all elite first rounders. Gomez, Witherspoon, Porter, Deonte Banks. They're all supposed to be gone by the time we pick. We're looking at Cam Smith, Colleen Ringo. And we are so deep at cornerback, I don't expect us doing this. I don't expect us getting a cornerback in the 1st round. They surprised us by grabbing one in the 2nd round last year. I think you can go as far down as Eli Ricks with Alabama, who I'm not really sold on. Hodges Tomlinson is rising. He could be in that mix in the top 5, top 6 right now. Cornerback's just not an area of a concern for me. I think we have great depth there. Let's pull up the safeties. We have a bunch of backup safeties on the roster right now. I don't know which one of them are going to play for us, Who do we want starting in case someone gets hurt? We have a former first rounder. We have a former second rounder. You know, we have a former third rounder. I mean, we've got all kind of talent at safety. So the problem is nobody wants Brian Branch, particularly. They view him as too slow to be a good deep safety. He's kind of like a box or a slot. And, you know, Brian Branch has been there when the Saints have drafted several times during my mocks experience. So not sure if the Saints going to address safety. I don't really want to talk about these guys anymore. We have to get on to the heart of the matter, and that is who are we going to draft? So our picks are there. Let's pull up, in my opinion, a very good list of who may be available with our first round pick. So here's that list. These are guys that I've seen fall to the Saints at one time or another during my mock missions. Not all of these guys are going to be available, mind you. You know, if someone like Brian Breesy or Kalijah Cansey at defensive tackle, if one of those guys falls to us, that means, you know, that means Will Levis is gone, or that means the offensive tackle Broderick Jones is gone. You know, if Brian Branch falls to us at safety, that means that Dalton Kincaid was drafted. If Kincaid and Mayer are there in the first round, you know, that means somebody took a chance on Drew Sanders at linebacker, or some edge rushers were taken. But anyway, here's the list. This is a list of 40 players. I think the 40 best players in the draft. As far as the positions, I go deep enough where there are guys there that may fall to the third round, maybe the second round, maybe the third round. But it's 40 players, so I'm expecting these guys to be the meat of what we have to choose, because we pick at pick 29, and then we pick our pick, and then 10 picks later at 40, you know, we'll be picking again. So we make our first round pick, and 10 picks later, we're picking again. So that's why I have 40 players listed here. These guys represent who we're likely going to draft in the first round and in the second round. Now, of course, the Saints could reach. That's possible. So, keeping in mind this list, come back to my video and pull it up if you want to take a look at it, if you want to play around. Let's do a mock. All right. Saints choose at 29. Like I said, if we combine our first round pick with our third round pick, we can move up to 19. I'm not going to package picks and move up, though the Saints will probably do that. I'm not going to. As a matter of fact, in this draft, especially with the depth at certain positions, I would be the type of GM that would move down. It depends on the situation. But I've done mocks where I've moved down and acquired additional picks. And I've had mocks where instead of having 8 picks, I had 10. I did a mock where I had 12 picks. I did a mock where I had 15 picks. And I thought, this is ridiculous. But there's a lot of teams that have accumulated a ton of draft picks. The Rams, the 49ers, Kansas City, they have a ton of 5th, 6th, 7th round picks, and they're willing to. If someone in the 4th round wants to move up 4 picks in the 4th round, and they're willing to give you 2/5 and a 6th, and you look at your board and you can move down 4 and still get a guy that you like, hell yeah, give me those 3 additional picks. And that's what was happening during a lot of these. I did one where I had 19 overall picks. I thought, this is stupid. There's no way. This is like video game stuff. But the trade was presented. I did it. And I ended up with 5 6-round picks and 5 7-round picks. So, you know, I had 19 picks, even though 10 of them were basically glorified rookie free agents. It was still nice to be able to grab whoever I wanted at positions I wanted. You know, you could definitely get a quarterback if you have 19 picks. But anyway, I digress. The Saints like to trade up. So here is the list. So I start the draft. I stay at 29. Here is a list of the players that were selected before I selected. Now, they're not in order except for in order of position. But this particular draft was very strange because there was a run on offensive tackle. I got to find my list so I can keep up with you guys. Yeah, there was a run on defensive end. There was a big run on offensive tackle, and there was a big run on cornerback. Huge run. So this works out great for the Saints. Y'all can take all the cornerbacks you want in the first round. Go right ahead, because we don't plan on taking one. So here's those are the players that were taken. So now here is the list of the players that are available, and we're choosing at number 29 overall. And here's the list. And it's a pretty good list. My two favorite players are there. Clancy out of Pittsburgh, defensive tackles there. And Torrance, the guard out of Florida, is there. Woohoo. Excited. Okay. Wow. Quentin Johnston's there. Now that's not going to happen in real life. But if you draft that wide receiver, yeah, you've got Michael Thomas's replacement. Okay, so there's that. Zay Flowers is still there. Josh Downs. You got two great tight ends, Kincaid, Washington, are still there. That run on offensive tackle has wiped out the tackle spot, and the last first round projection is still there with Wright, Darnell Wright. This is something I thought would happen. So you've got the best interior lineman available. You've got, in my opinion, the best pass rushing defensive tackle. There was a run on defensive end. There's still about 5 of them there that you can mess with. The best linebackers are still available. Now, everyone shaded in the gray box is players that I had in the top 50. So we're choosing 29 overall. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's your pick. Make the pick. I got one offer to trade down. I didn't take it. I was moving out of the first round completely. All they were willing to compensate me was a fourth rounder. I would do that if I wasn't in love with 3 players in particular. Quentin Johnston is one I think most people would tend to want to go for at this point. But of course, my 3 favorite are Cansey at defensive tackle, Kincaid at tight end, Torrance at guard. Those are the 3 that I'm choosing from. I wasn't moving back 6 spots when those are, in my opinion, plus Johnson, are the 4 best ones. You have to take one of them. And as much as I love Torrance, with the 29th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select defensive tackle Elijah Clancy, Pittsburgh. All right. Now, 10 more players come off the board and we pick again. So here's what happens. Our pick goes, and those are the next picks to go. 3 defensive ends, the wide receivers, both of the great tight ends, and the top center is gone. A good linebacker is gone. But here we are at pick 40, and Mozzie Smith is still on the board. Those defensive ends are almost gone. You want to take a chance on McDonald or Azuma? And your wide receivers, you've got one more bona fide, really good one in Tillman there. Right, the tackle is still there. Ugh. And like I say, I love Campbell and Simpson at linebacker. As far as depth goes, there's been such a big run on defensive end. At this point, if you want to grab Zuma from Kansas State, I don't argue. But, of course, I'm grabbing Osiris Torrance. That would be the guy I would grab at 40. Now, I was proposed a trade. I was proposed a trade by the Falcons. They want me to move back 4 spots. Okay, do you make the trade? Those are the players that are available. Are there 5 players here that I would definitely take? Well, this is the way I'm looking at it. Torrance, yes, the guard, I would take. Mozzie Smith, definitely. Zuma, defensive end, definitely. I would take the linebacker Campbell or the linebacker Simpson. Yes, I feel there's a need for it. I would also be very comfortable in taking McDonald, the end. I would be comfortable in taking Ika from Baylor, the defensive tackle. And I would definitely take Simpson, the linebacker. But I love Torrance. So would you do it? Atlanta offers you their 44th overall for our 40 overall, and they're willing to give us straight up their 4th round pick, 110. Willing to give it to us straight up. Would you take that? They want us to send them our 7th round pick too, 257 overall. So that's what they're offering. We swap. We move 4 spots down. We get an additional 4th round pick, but we have to send them a 7th because they're going to miss that pick. Well, I countered. In reality, I'd probably go ahead and take the guard because I love him. But at this point, I countered. I said, look, you want to give us the 4th round pick? Fine. We'll give you our last 7th round pick. Fine. But we want to make some more moves here. I want to move up from 115 in the 4th round to your 113. Okay, it's only 2 spots. I want to move up from my 227 in the 7th round to your 224. It's only 3 spots in the 7th round. That's nothing. I also want to move up from my 5th pick, 165, to your 5th pick, 159. That's 6 spots. Okay, so yeah, I'll move back 4 spots in the 2nd round, and you give me a 4th rounder. But I'm also going to move up 2 spots in the other 4th round pick. I'm going to move up 6 spots in the 5th round, and I'm going to move up 3 spots in the 7th round. You do all that for me, and I'll go ahead and take the trade. And that's what Atlanta agreed to. So that's the trade right there. The Saints end up moving back to the 44th overall pick. And whenever we get there, our guys we still have a choice. The Falcons moved up to get Uzuma, so he was gone. The tackle right was taken right after that. And then the edge rusher McDonald went, and the linebacker Campbell went. That left me with 3 great players to choose from. Torrance, Smith, defensive tackle Smith, and linebacker Simpson. And, of course, I grabbed the guard Torrance. Of course I did. And that is the anatomy of a draft. I ended up making a few more moves. With the 3rd round pick, I selected wide receiver Kayshon Boutte out of LSU. When my 4th round pick came up, when my 4th round pick came up, 110, I got a trade offer from Minnesota. They wanted me to move down from 110 to 119, but they were willing to give me a 5th round pick to do it, 158 overall. They wanted my last pick, my 7th round pick, 224. They wanted a 7th round pick as compensation. I looked at the board and decided it was good. At that point, I felt really comfortable about where the draft was at as far as running back and tight end goes. So I moved down 9 spots in the 4th round and got to make a 7th round pick, a 5th round pick. No problem. Took that trade. And with the fourth round pick, 113 overall, which I had already acquired, I took the tight end Sam Laporta out of Iowa. And then with that 119 overall in the fourth round, there were still some good running backs there. Spears was still there. But I went ahead and pulled the trigger on Kendre Miller out of TCU, the running back. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, guys. Got the lawn people here, and the dog might start barking. So I'm going to hurry up, try to wrap this up a little bit faster here. We're already at an hour. So pick 146 in the fifth round. I went ahead and grabbed Andrew Voorhees, the guard. I'm serious about offensive line help. And then we had one more trade where Baltimore wanted my 158 in the fifth round. They were giving me their 162, and they were throwing in a seventh round pick. So I went ahead and did that too. I was able to grab the edge rusher from Tennessee, Byron Young, with the 159 overall. I was able to grab a surprise player at fifth round, 162. Tajay Spears from Tulane is still on the board. Now, I already grabbed a running back and Kendre Miller. I went ahead and got Tajay Spears. There's no way he lasts till the fifth round. In this draft, he did. And then in that last pick, seventh round, 236 overall, I decided to grab defensive tackle Carl Brooks from Bowling Green, though Tyson Bagent, the Shepherd Wonder quarterback, was there. And at that point, anybody could have made that pick. So, I mean, I went ahead and got the defensive tackle, but you could take a flyer on the quarterback too. So there you go, guys. That is how the draft ended up for me. I could give you a ton of 7-pick, scenarios, or just straight up what the Saints do. I could try to do what the Saints normally do, which is trade up and you just give all our picks away to go and grab a handful of players. Or you could do something like I did. Be patient. Move down only when it's smart. Still get your 2 highest rated players in Kancey and Torrance. You still hit the needs of running back, wide receiver, tight end. And, yeah. Picked up a couple extra picks. I picked up an extra pick, so we end up with 9 instead of 8. But I moved up a lot. And, yeah, the edge rusher, defensive tackle, 2 offensive linemen, a running back, a tight end, 2 running backs, and a tight end. 2 running backs is kind of crazy, but Tajay Spears in the 5th round, you're kind of crazy to pass that up. So there you go. That is my breakdown of the players in the draft. A mock draft scenario. You guys come back, pull up those charts I've made all the effort to make, and you can look at it, act like that's the simulator you're doing, and who would you take? Then go to that second round pick. Would you make the trade with the Falcons? Or would you just take the pick? I took a gamble and still got the guy I wanted in Torrance. So that was a lot of fun. I might do one more pre-draft video. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos like this. And keep an eye out for the Saints. Go to playlists where you can find New Orleans Saints videos with ease. Until then, I'm Joe. Thanks for watching. And who dat?